If I've never answered any of your questions, one, I'm sorry. I try to find questions that have questions that challenge me a little bit. Ones that I think the answer will be interesting to a broader audience than just the person who asked it. Adam wants to know, tell me how to succeed as in motivation. I can't tell you that. You have to find your own motivation, can't rely on other people. Andrew wants to know, how do you surround yourself with the right people? That's a great question. I don't know how to surround yourself with the right people. What I do is eliminate the bad people. If you're somebody that I don't want in my life, get out. How do you not give a shit about what anyone thinks and just do your own thing? That's a two-part answer to a two-part question. The first part about how do you just do your own thing? In life you have two options. You can do your own thing and stand out, or you can do what you're supposed to do, you can do what everyone else does, and you can fit in. There's nothing wrong with fitting in, but you're fitting into cultural or societal norms that were created by other people. Now, in some cases these norms are great, but in others they don't make sense. These norms, these rules, were created by someone just like you or someone just like me. I don't know who created these norms. Chances are they weren't anyone smarter than you or me. And if I'm not a fan of the way things are, I just do my own thing because I trust myself and I trust my perspective more so than that of other people. Part two, how do you not give a shit about what people think of you? I should preface this answer by saying I definitely got made fun of a lot for the way that I look when I was in school, and all those bullies that picked on me are all losers now. So never forget that. People who judge others, especially people who judge others based on things like looks, on whether you're black or white, whether you're Jewish or you're Muslim, whether you are gay or straight, because of their body type, whether they're fat or skinny, whether you have pimples or whether you have a big butt. These judgmental people, their opinions don't matter because they don't matter. Judgmental people are of a lower moral authority than those who don't judge. And we, people who don't judge, we have a responsibility to crush, to destroy those mean, judgmental bullies. And we do that with an overwhelming positivity, and we do that with our extreme open-mindedness. And when you subscribe to those values, you really stop caring what other people think. Because chances are, if other people are judging you, they're wrong. There are only a few things in life that directly contribute to your day-to-day happiness as much as working with people, being surrounded by people that you really like to be around. For me in my office, that is number one. I love the team that we have. I was with a friend of mine last week and he said, just make a decision. It'll be the right decision, but just make a decision. You'll make it right. That's a particularly inspiring statement for me to hear right now. We're moving forward trying to get this new apartment. Making the decisions around completely redoing the studio feels really good. You just make the decision and then you act on it. Yeah. Anytime someone doubts you in life, there's only one thing you can do, and that is prove them wrong. Every once in a while, when things feel really good, you just stop and look around and pay really close attention and then say, I'm gonna remember this moment. I try to do that every so often, and then life kind of becomes an aggregate of those moments. And when you look back, it's those moments that you remember. But if you forget to do that, you end up looking back, and instead of seeing those little moments, you just look back and you're like, what just happened? It's just remembering to stop and think. Sometimes you're so busy, life is so fast, you forget to think. You gotta stop and think. You think about what makes you happy. You think about what makes you sad. What makes you fulfilled. What's a waste of time. What's a good use of your time. You gotta think. And that's my favorite part about running. I love the physicality, I love the competitiveness of it, but my favorite part is having a piece of the day, every day, set aside, no distractions, just think time, just brain time. Running is much more of a cerebral experience for me than it is a physical one. First of all, don't kid yourself. It takes years and years and years. There's no such thing, at least in my experience, of an overnight success. It's just gradual steps that get you closer to where you want to be.
So the thing I would say is, When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.
Okay, I'll link that below, but he really said it well. And when it comes to where I want to exude my efforts and energy in life, it's on something that I want to make sure is true to my own mission and my own goals. So working for myself is something I take very seriously. And everybody I work with are people who in some capacity share a similar vision. So really it's this whole be your own boss. It's like if you're in the right place, there is no boss. It becomes a collaborative effort by a group of individuals that share a mutual ambition. And that's how I like to think of everything that I've done since I quit my last job, whatever it was, 14 years ago. Anytime you have a special experience in life, and in the moment, it feels great. It feels wonderful. It feels, and I'm talking about a birthday, a first date, a trip especially, travel especially. I say this now because I'm exhausted right now, look at it. And I look back, I think about yesterday, I think about this amazing trip that I took with my kid, and it just feels like this fun thing that I did. As time goes by, they go from being these little fun things to something so much more substantial. Time has this magical ability to erase all the negative and amplify all the positive. As I'm talking to the camera right now, I'm looking into the screen and I see this picture over my shoulder. That's me, that's Candace. That was 2008 when her and I went on this trip. We went to my friend's wedding in Vegas, and we had just broken up and gotten back together, and we had this amazing time together in Vegas. And in the moment, but I look back at it now and I realize that was such a big moment for us in our relationship, and forever we'll look back and have that. I'm launching into this tirade right now because beyond the fun and the whole France and the Mercedes and it was also the moment that my kid went from being a kid to being but no matter what happens in the rest of our lives, we will always have the experiences we had together. It is those moments in aggregate that equal life. What do you think about the comfort zone? I think it's the worst place you could ever be. When you're hungry, you want more. When you're wildly successful, you can embrace your hard work and be proud of it. When you're in the comfort zone, it's just blah. Other than hard work, what advice would you give to better yourself both in life and in your career field? Focus. Focus is super underrated. If you commit all that you are and all of your energy to one thing, you'll... Okay, this diagram, I took this from a book called, I don't know what it's called, but it goes like this. All right, you can do 10 things to the first degree, like this right here, and that's how well you'll do all 10 things. Or you can do one thing to the 10th degree right there, and look how much better you do that. So when it comes to focus, to put all of your energy into one thing is to do that one thing really well, to the best of your abilities, to take it all the way. And to scatter yourself means you're never actually accomplishing anything. You're just sort of chipping away at a bunch of nothingness. And this is true for work, this is true for dating versus committing yourself to one person, friendship, everything. really focusing and investing yourself into something you're passionate about will always yield better results than scattering yourself around, than spreading yourself thin. If you could do it all again, would you change anything? Fun question. I'm not really into hypotheticals. I'm very rooted in reality and where I am right now. And to look back and say I would have done this differently would mean that I might not be in the position I'm in right now. And I'm really happy with the progress I've made in life. So I'm much more about looking forward and thinking, what can I do now to affect my future, than I am looking at my past saying, I wish I'd done this. Next, I just wanted to get like a little bit introspective. I spent the last 16 hours, something like that, editing yesterday's video, which was like my 2015 year in review. And I've never before sat down and examined an entire year of my life before. I got like a little nostalgic, like a little sad. The thing about the past is that you never ever get to experience it again. As I'm sifting through all of that footage, as I'm sifting through literally a year of my life that's all on video, I was just thinking like, how the fuck did I get here? And the time in my life I identify with most is right here. That's me, that's Owen, that's the trailer that we lived in a trailer park in Connecticut. I catch myself getting frustrated or angry or pissed off. I just take a deep breath, look around and be like, I have nothing to be upset about, nothing. Appreciating what you have is the first principle of happiness. Okay. John wants to know, who would you love more than anything to get a compliment from? You know, John, I have a rule, and that is to ignore praise and embrace criticism. So I never try to seek compliments. It's generally a dead end. This is kind of a ridiculous question, but Ben wants to know, Casey, how do you live so philosophically? I don't really know what you mean by that, but I try to pay attention always. I pay attention to everything I read, everything I hear, everything I see. And then I ignore about 99.9 repeating % of that, and whatever's left over I hang on to for dear life. And I think this philosophical living that you're speaking of is just me sort of sharing the aggregate of what I've absorbed over the course of my life. Why does Owen work in a donut shop? Why don't you get him a cool job? Okay, let me spend a little bit of time picking this one apart. So my son Owen has his first job right now, and he works at a Krispy Kreme donut place at the cash register selling people donuts, which is a tough job. And yes, I could make a phone call and I could get him some cushy, easy, fun, cool job at like a production company doing something totally awesome. But I'm his father, and I try to do what's best for him at all times. And what's not good for a kid to have as his first job is something cushy and cool. Beyond learning the value of $1 and beyond learning what the suck means of working in a place like that, he will forever, for the rest of his life, no matter how successful or rich or famous he might become, he will forever treat people that work behind a counter with a level of respect that they deserve, because he will appreciate and understand how hard that job is. That's one of the reasons. The bigger reason, 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I did a whole vlog about sort of life's principles and what it means to always fixate on what do you want from life and then figure out how to execute that. And a lot of people replied with, what's the best way to find your passion? What's the best way to find your calling in life? And I have an answer to that, and I don't know that this answer is right, but this is an answer I firmly believe in. The best way to find what you love in life is by doing something you hate. A cushy job, a cool job, a job that you like is comfortable. That comfort breeds complacency, and that complacency breeds stagnation. So you just kind of stay there because it's a fine job, even though it may not be your dream or your passion. And then all kinds of shit happens. She gets pregnant, you buy a car, there's a mortgage payment, you have a house, you have this cushy life, and before you know it, you have these handcuffs, these golden handcuffs that is your day job, that you didn't love, you never loved. It was just an easy job, but now there's no way out of it. And all of that happens by doing something that's cushy and easy. If you get a job that absolutely sucks, something you hate doing, you will spend every minute on the clock fixating and fantasizing about what you wish you were doing. Where did I find my passion for filmmaking and my drive to do what I do in life? I found it in the bottom of the nastiest, burnt up, clam chowder pot ever, working in a shitty seafood restaurant where I'd have to dig so deep into that pot to scrub the bottom that it would get all over my arms and all over my shirt. And I just reeked of stale seafood and it never came off my body. But doing that for years, 50 hours a week, every week for like 5 years, really galvanized for me what I wished I could be doing. I fantasized about having a job that I loved, about doing something I was super passionate about working for myself and not having some asshole boss telling me what to do all the time. I obsessed over it. But if I had been in some cushy, some sweet, some fun job that my dad got for me, none of that drive would have been there. So yeah, Owen works in a donut store. And what he will get from working in a donut shop, what he will get from a shitty job is invaluable. And he might not appreciate that, and whoever wrote me that comment might not appreciate that, but believe me, at some point in his life, he will look back and he will see that that was one of the most influential jobs he could have ever had. I hope. Otherwise, he'll hate me forever for making him work in a donut store. Nicole asks, how do you get yourself out of a rut? Work. Work is the answer to a lot of problems. It cures depression, heartbreak, all those things. You just, when you're in a bad place, I bury myself with work. The progress and the physical activity and the brain distraction, it like breaks me out of anything. Malcolm X is my hero because the guy went to prison as a total degenerate, as a proper criminal. He deserved to go to jail. And while in jail, all he did was educate himself. And when he came out as this great, strong, maybe one of the greatest communicators of the civil rights movement. And him being like this, I think the sort of quintessential autodidact is something that's tremendously inspiring for me because, you know, I'm a high school dropout. I never went to college. I never went to school. And when I was younger, a gigantic insecurity of mine was my lack of education. And looking at someone that had an impact on this world as tremendous as Malcolm X, and realizing that he also didn't have an education, he took it upon himself to educate himself, that's moving for me. And that's all without getting into the actual impact that he had on this world and what he did, which is tremendous. But I identify with him personally because of that journey. I like this question. Bosco wants to know, divide into percentage these factors to reach success. Natural talent, luck, and determination. Natural talent is highly overrated. It's determination, 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 and then like luck and all that other education and all that. It's like, it's not even in the same pie chart. The path you take to success or happiness in life can have a gazillion different manifestations. I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade and like went on welfare and got a job washing dishes because I had to. I had to support my baby, like I had no other options. But that is what led me to what I'm doing today. I couldn't have predicted that. And I think that what college is really incredible for is if you don't know what to do, college can be a really great place to find that. And that's not just the academic aspects, but also the social aspects. Being around new people, like living away from your parents' house, being exposed to all of the sort of different cultural aspects of being a melting pot that is like, that is a college. But I also think that the price of college is insanely expensive. And before you drop a couple $100,000 on it, on school, you know, money is fungible. Like how else could you spend that money and what will take you further in life? But in general, I have nothing bad to say about education in any capacity.
Money. I mean, how much is a lot of money to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Have you made, say, millions of dollars?
No.
Are you a rich man?
When you mean rich, what you mean?
Do you have a lot of possessions? A lot of money in the bank?
Position make you rich? I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life.
Oh, that's cool!
How do you get past people trying to drag you down and mess with your dreams and stuff? People who have given up on their own personal dreams and aspirations have a tendency to try to convince you and discourage you from pursuing your dreams and aspirations. So getting past that for me was just like a confidence or an arrogance that you have to find that says, I'm right, I trust my instincts more than I do these external forces, other people, that are trying to push me down. That's a more didactic way of saying, like, you just have to believe in yourself. And that sounds cheesy, but that's the truth. Because if you believe in yourself, like, who gives a shit what anybody says or tries to do? They're wrong, you're right, Mel, go get them. Figuring out, like, your purpose or your passion or your mission in life is really, really hard to do. I've always said, like, you should either be realizing your dreams or figuring out what they are. Figuring out what they are is really hard. The best advice I could give to how to figure it out is to keep very, very busy. And for some people that means going to college. For some people that means getting a job. For other people, it can manifest itself in a million different ways. But sitting around trying to figure it out will never yield results. Life is so much better when you have someone to share it with. When you have family to share it with, it's great. When you have friends to share it with, it's amazing. And if you're really, really lucky, if you meet a stranger in your lifetime and decide that you want to share your life with that stranger, that's amazing. That is one of the greatest parts of life. A shared life is a great life. In life, you should only ever be doing one of two things, and that is figuring out what you're most passionate about, like finding your dreams in life, and then two, realizing those passions, realizing those dreams. And the first one is much harder than the second one. If you know what you want to do, no big deal. You just commit your entire life to doing it, and you'll either get really close or you'll die trying. But figuring out what it is that excites you, what it is that you're most passionate about in life is really, really tricky. So how I approach it, and this is how I've always approached it. This is how I approached it when I was on welfare, when I was 17 years old. This is how I approached it when I was washing dishes, when I was 20. This is how I've approached my entire life. And that is to absolutely fixate on what it is that I want to be doing all day long, every day. Like, what am I doing right now? Is this exactly where I want to be? And by always checking with myself, always checking in, like always hitting that reset button, I can always be really confident in my actions because I know that my ambition is true. It's like that platitude, without a goal you can't score. I really believe in that because if you can't see like the goalposts, how do you know which way to kick the ball? When I first discovered filmmaking and I was like, this is all I want in life, I was 17 years old. I was on welfare. It took me a decade before I figured out how to make a living at it. When I decided that I didn't want to date anymore, I didn't want to be single, that I was unhappy, I wanted a family. It took me years to talk Candace into marrying me, and then actually us getting married, and then having a baby. So realizing it takes time, and realizing it requires commitment, but it's that first step, that first decision point that enables you to sort of realize the ambition, or at least begin the process to realize that ambition. This is something I do every day, even now. I'm 34 years old, I feel like I've come really far in life, but I want to go much further, and I'm constantly reevaluating my decisions and what I'm doing to make sure I'm on the path that I want to be on. But your grasp should always be just outside your reach. What's the point in having ambitions if they aren't seemingly unattainable? Okay, that's it. That's my big thought for today. Back to our regularly scheduled vlog tomorrow morning. People have a tendency to get very comfortable when they find any degree of success. And they're like, this is good, I'm not gonna change anything. And then the world changes around them, and what was their security self-destructs. Avoid comfort, don't wait for the change to happen and try to figure it out. Just be the change. Then you're always ahead of it. And I don't believe that liking something so much should preclude you from trying something new. What that literally means is, even though I absolutely love this city, that is not a good enough reason for me to not try something else. So yes, my affinity for and obsession around this city absolutely contradicts my curiosity about leaving this city. But I've also always said, New York City is only for the young and broke and the rich and old. And I'm entering into a phase of my life where I'm neither of those two. I have had the pleasure of working with or hiring like quite a few, probably like 50 different employees in my entire career. And what I always say when I hire someone is, if you're still working for me in 2 years, you're doing something wrong. Meaning you should have taken everything there is to learn from this position and moved on by now within 2 years. So when it comes to someone like Jack, he worked for me for like a year and a half, and then we started Beam, and he moved into like a very serious role there. I really wanted to do a normal Q&A today, but this question's too good. I have to dive into it and explain. Okay, sorry about this. I try not to get distracted, but I get distracted. This is too good of a question for me to not properly answer. Bear with me here, okay? You got your x-axis here, you got your y-axis here. These are the jobs you have in life. And here on your y-axis, you got your skills, your education, your experience, your value. And then this is you. Here's your first job. Maybe it's at McDonald's, maybe it's at Burger King, maybe you're washing dishes, but you do gain skills, education, and experience. Your value increases. Now the minute you're no longer going up, the minute your trajectory starts to plateau, you have to move on to job number 2. And job number 2 should increase your value. When you've expired this job, you find job number 3. The moment you stop going up and you start to go like this in any one job, and this gap gets big here, that's when it's time to change things. This plateau, which is comfort, when you're doing the same thing day in and day out of your job, is when your value starts to atrophy. If it's not going up, it's actually going down, because the rest of the world just keeps moving. This is the only trajectory to do in any career. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be quitting your job every 6 months. This doesn't mean anything like that. But at your job, you should always be asking yourself, am I learning new things? Am I increasing my value? And if the answer is no, work harder and find that opportunity, or maybe find a new job. So Jack's a really good example of this. Yeah, he's been with me for a long time, but he's never moved laterally. His value is always going up. This is true for every job I've ever had. When I was washing dishes, I was learning how to cook. And before I left that job in the restaurant, I was a line cook. I wasn't just a dishwasher. Every job I've had in my entire career, I was like an orange. And the minute there's no more juice to be squeezed from that orange, I let it go and I move on. How do you manage being so optimistic about everything? What's the alternative? To be negative or cynical? There's more than enough negativity in this world. And negativity doesn't feel good. Negativity is just easy. So if you put in the time to work hard at being positive and being optimistic, it's a much better life, but it does take more work. How do you develop your own style of vlogging? I developed my own style of filmmaking because I never knew any other way to do it. I didn't have the burden of an education to overcome to create my own style. And what that literally means is it's like if you're taught to do things a certain way, say you're taught to do things the way everyone else does them, then all you know is the way everyone else does them. But if you're never taught how to do it anyway, then you know where you want to get to. You're starting over here. You don't know the way you're supposed to take. When you're making a movie, you're either being unique or you're being average. To be average is to do things the way you're supposed to do them. That looks like this. If you're never taught this, if you're never taught the average way, you still need to get to the finish line, but you don't know this way. So you're forced to define your own crazy path of getting there. You're on one side of the field, you need to get to the other. There's a path you can take, or you can be forced to discover your own path. And I was forced to discover my own path, which yielded my style. There has to be a certain level of narcissism or ego involved in anyone who thinks someone else gives a shit about something they create. Whether you're a photographer, a journalist, a writer, any person who makes something, a chef, you have to first think someone else cares about something I care about. And that is inherently narcissistic. Beyond that, like, what is the artistic merit of vlogs? Like, are you f***ing kidding me? Like, just zoom way out. And what is vlogging? Vlogging is one person making a movie from their perspective every day. It is a capturing and sharing humanity in a way that this medium has never seen before. And the profundity that is that, the impact that is that, the social and cultural impacts of this new medium is entirely untold. ultimately, I think time will tell what the social and cultural significance of this new genre called vlogging really is. I'm betting that it's huge. I would say this generically to anyone who has a dream or an aspiration in life, which is don't give up. You will fail 1,000 times, but then you'll succeed. And most people like to give up after they fail because that's when it feels like that's when you're supposed to give up. Like I tried, I failed, time to quit. I totally disagree. Failure really happens when you've decided that you no longer want to pursue that dream. Like that's the moment of failure. That's the point when you turn the corner from on your way to success to failing. In life, you can get whatever you want, but you can't want whatever you want. That doesn't make any sense. Let me explain. If you truly are one of those people who commits a life to pursuing, to realizing a dream, you have to be a little crazy. John Baltazari says you have to be possessed. If you are one of those possessed individuals, if you want it so bad, you will get it. But not all of us, not everyone wants it that bad. So when your kindergarten teacher said to you, Billy, Susie, you can get whatever you want in this world, she wasn't wrong. But those words mean very different things to different people. Here is a guaranteed way for you to realize your every dream. It's super simple. I'm gonna write it down. If you commit your entire life to a dream, you will find it. Because if you commit your everything, your entire being, there's only one of two possible outcomes. Number one, you'll find it. You will succeed. Number two, you'll die trying. And it won't make a difference either way. So that is a guarantee. That is a positively a guaranteed way to get there. Dreams are important. Having goals, ambition, these are the things that drive life. But in my humble opinion, there's only one determination, there's only one factor that makes you a success or does not make you a success. It's a binary. And that is, are you happy? Are you happy with the life that you live? And if you're one of those possessed, crazy individuals that is only happy in the pursuit of that dream, then that is what you do. By the way, if you're one of those people, you don't need to be watching this because you already know all of this. But for everyone else, for all the civilians, for all the people who might not consider themselves possessed, dreams matter. Goals matter. And what they do is they serve as this guiding light that steers you through life. You keep your eyes fixed on that, and life may take you in all of these crazy trajectories, and along the way, you'll find what makes you happy. That pursuit may lead you to a place you could have never imagined, but a place where you're very, very happy. This is why there are a lot of really happy people out there who have jobs you've never heard of. It's because no matter what pursuit you choose, happiness, it is happiness that matters.
So just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it!
The dominoes are broken into 6 different color categories. Where's my tape? First is white, and that is free time. Next up is black. Black is sleep. Red is work. Orange is exercise. And blue is family time. Last is purple, and purple is like fun or partying or playing video games. That's purple. Here are your 24 hours. This is kind of how my day looks. So starting at 7 a.m., I like to get in 1, 2, 3 hours of exercise. Immediately heading into work at 10 a.m., 6, 7. Okay, then I get home at 7 p.m., and that's when I do family time. So putting the baby to bed, stuff like that. That usually goes till about 9 or 10 p.m. So then starting at 10 p.m. when Candace goes to bed, that's usually when I edit this vlog. So from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m., I'm back at work. So at 1 a.m. I go to bed, and that's when I sleep. And I sleep from 1 a.m. usually till about 5 a.m. And then I get up at 6, and from 6 to 7 is when I do email. So then that's sneaking in 1 more hour of work. So this is my day. This is what almost every day looks like. There's a slight shift in the weekend. This is like a pretty grueling schedule. And the reason why it looks like this is this work time here from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m., my work day, it's a fairly typical work day. This is the time spent working on my new company. This is the time I spend focusing on building this business. I pull some minutes out of there to try to catch up shooting this vlog, but for the most part, my daytime, my day job is a full-time, 50+ hours a week focus on my new company. So then where do I make this vlog? Where do I work on this vlog? I had to steal some hours here from sleep. These hours otherwise, from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. would be sleep. From 6 a.m. till 7 a.m., that would be sleep. Time is the most precious resource for me right now in life. This is the most valuable thing I have, and that's why I'm so protective of my time. And why I'm so emphatic about all of this is that I think life is substantiated by whatever impact or whatever contribution you can make while you're alive. The finish line's the same for everyone. We're all ending up in the same place, but while we're here, what contribution can you make? Work and building things and making things and doing things and spending time with your family, those are the ways that I feel I'm contributing, that I'm accomplishing something. So why wouldn't I want to maximize my time as efficiently as possible to be as effective as I can with that? And that is why I say free time is the enemy of progress, because free time sitting around is not doing. And that's why I try to omit that entirely from my life. How do you overcome the fear of doing what you like? I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, but taking chances in your career or taking chances in life is always scary. And typically if it's something you really like, something you're passionate about, it requires taking a chance to pursue that. What I always ask myself, the question I always push up against is, what is the alternative? Like if I don't do what I love, if I don't pursue this thing that I want to pursue, what is the alternative? I do something that I don't like because I'm supposed to. Fear is real. Fear is something you will always have to confront. But what's on the other side of fear is always something that's worth it. I mean, I think the key to positivity in any year is just taking a big step back, zooming out, and getting a little perspective on where you are and what's going on in life. Life could be much, much worse. There are a lot of people in this world dealing with absolutely horrible situations. But if you're not, and I hope you're not, I'm not, appreciate that. And I think the way you pay it forward, the way that your obligation for the world for having a good life is by being positive. Whenever I'm sort of down or I'm being an asshole, I remind myself of that, and I work hard towards positivity. Let's chat a little about complainers. Generally, a complainer is a person who doesn't take responsibility for their own action. A complainer is someone who would always talk about why they failed instead of how to succeed. Now, there's one simple reason why it's never ever okay to complain, and that is there's always someone that has it worse than you do. Let me give that a little context. So when I think about some of the things in my life that I'd want to complain about, some of the really hard things, and then I give them any sort of real world context, they aren't that consequential. Let me get really specific. When I was 16 years old and I had to drop out of high school to get a terrible job to support my new baby, that was pretty rough. You know, that is a big enough excuse for me to justify any actions I take in my life. I know, but I couldn't do this because. To embrace that as an excuse to complain. But the truth is that's not so bad. Dropping out of high school, like really not having much of a place to live, having no money, having a baby, being on welfare, like all those things really suck. But in the grand scheme of humanity, it's not that bad. Bear with me. I turn on my computer, I go to a news site, and the first story I read is about migrants from Myanmar that are stuck on a boat, stranded because the Thai government won't let them into port. These are people just like you and me, and they're literally starving to death, and this is right now. I don't mean to be so extreme, but these are the things that I remind myself of anytime I want to complain or bitch about something in my life. You realize that there are people just like you and me who at this very moment are truly facing things we're lucky enough to go our entire lives without ever having to experience. Okay, let me tell one more story to back this up. One more story where like my feelings around complaining and life in general were really set straight. 3 years ago I did this project, led like a very small relief mission to the Philippines after they had been devastated by Typhoon Haiyan. This is some of the video here. That was somebody's home. People didn't have water, people didn't have food. You know, these people had nothing. Their livelihoods, their life, their existence had totally been stripped away from them. And what struck me the most about the entire experience, all of my time there, was not once did anyone complain. But they had lost everything, and they didn't complain. And they all focused on one thing. They focused on change, not complaining. And because of that, I do take it personally when people complain, because the truth is, most of the time, people who complain have nothing to complain about. Who cares if I went to a meeting that doesn't start till tomorrow, and who cares if some guy locked up my bike brake cable? It really doesn't matter. If it's broken, fix it. If you don't like it, change it. And if you want something, take it. Don't complain about it. Just do something about it. The moment you're born, you start barreling towards the only finish line, which is death. And this journey here, that's life. And no matter what you do, this momentum can never be slowed and can never stop. I really subscribe to that idea that life is about movement. Life is a trajectory. Life is a train that never stops. And I especially subscribe to that perspective when it comes to my career. See, my career is a whole bunch of little successes and little failures. Today, 4 million subscribers is certainly one of those little successes. And the reason why I so harshly reject the idea of having made it or having arrived or crossing a finish line is because as all of life keeps moving, today's success quickly becomes yesterday's success, becomes last week's success, becomes last year's success. You can't rest on your laurels. I look beyond it. What's next? When I cross that finish line, I'm immediately looking for the next finish line. With each success should come a bigger, more ambitious goal. There's this computer nerd. He's a little bit of a hero of mine. He started a tech company in 1975. It got really, really successful. He became the richest man on planet Earth. And then he stepped away from it and he said, what could be a bigger goal than becoming the richest man on planet Earth? How about I eradicate polio? How about I commit the rest of my life to making this world a better place for other people? That is this. And one truth that I've learned is that if I'm not fighting every single day for success, then I'm drifting backwards towards failure. So I want to end this 4 million subscriber video special by thanking you for being a part of this with me, by subscribing and validating my videos, by watching them, and to say that in this journey, I am still just getting started. This is just the beginning for me. With that, I'll see you at 5 million.